Once upon a time, there was a couple named Jack and Laura. After they got married, they hoped to start a family right away. However, they faced difficulties and waited for 3 long years before they were blessed with a daughter, Samantha. When Samantha was born, their joy knew no bounds. One beautiful morning after breakfast, the family relaxed together in the living room. Samantha sat beside her parents, and Jack couldn't stop smiling as he gazed at her. "Why are you smiling so much this morning?" Laura asked her husband, also smiling. "Just thinking about how blessed we are to have Samantha," Jack replied. "Do you remember all we went through?" "How could I forget?" Laura said. Tears welling up in her eyes. "For 3 years, we faced so much heartache. The doctors couldn't explain why we couldn't conceive, and everyone had their theories and advice. I was called names, and some people even suggested we give up. But now, look at her." "Our miracle baby," Jack said, gently stroking Samantha's hair. "She'll be 5 years old next week." "Time flies," Laura agreed, smiling. "Our little girl is growing up." The following day, Jack dropped Samantha off at school before heading to work. Samantha was excited to see her friends and skipped happily into the school building. Later that morning, Jack called Laura. "Hey honey, I just dropped Samantha off at school. Can you pick her up after school closes this afternoon?" "Of course, dear," Laura replied warmly. "I'll be there to pick her up. Anything else I should know?" "No, everything's fine," Jack assured her. "Just a normal day. I'll see you later." "Okay, see you then," Laura said before they hung up. Laura was hungry during her lunch break at work, so she went to a nearby local restaurant. She ordered beans and enjoyed eating them. The food made her feel very sleepy, and she ended up falling asleep at the table. One of her workers woke her up, and Laura realized she was already 15 minutes late to pick up Samantha from school. She tried to call the headmistress for help, but her phone had bad reception, and none of her calls went through. Laura quickly gathered her things and left the office in a rush, determined to get to Samantha's school as fast as possible. Her heart pounding with worry as she dashed towards her car. She knew she had to reach Samantha's school quickly. However, as soon as she hit the road, she encountered unexpected traffic. Cars were bumper to bumper, barely moving forward. Laura gripped the steering wheel tightly, checking her watch every few seconds. With each passing minute, her anxiety grew. She tried to call her husband Jack, hoping he could somehow reach Samantha in time, but there was no answer. The minutes dragged on, and the traffic seemed endless. She glanced at the clock again. Samantha's school would soon close for the day. Laura's mind raced with thoughts of Samantha waiting alone, wondering where her mum was. Laura couldn't bear to wait in the traffic any longer. Frustrated and anxious to reach Samantha's school, she hurriedly got out of her car and flagged down a passing motorbike. "Please, I need to get to my daughter's school quickly," Laura pleaded with the motorbike rider. Without wasting a moment, the driver nodded and revved the engine. Laura jumped on the back of the bike, clutching tightly to the driver as they maneuvered through the congested streets. With determination fueling her, Laura urged the driver to go faster, her heart racing with every passing moment. She kept checking her watch, willing the minutes to slow down. Meanwhile, at Samantha's school, she sat on a bench, watching as her friends were picked up one by one. She felt lonely and hungry. Samantha decided to wait a little longer, but when no one came, she thought she might be forgotten. "Are you still waiting for your parents?" the headmistress asked as she locked the classroom door. "Yes, ma'am. I'm sure they'll be here soon," Samantha replied, trying to sound confident. "All right, but stay right here, okay? I'll check on you before I leave," the headmistress said. Samantha nodded, but after a while, her hunger got the better of her. She decided to walk home by herself, thinking she knew the way. As she walked along the sidewalk, she saw an ice cream truck and got excited. She ran towards it, but in her haste, she tripped and fell onto the road. A car was coming, and the driver, Peter, swerved to avoid hitting her. But it was too late. He knocked her down. Horrified, Peter immediately got out of his car and saw Samantha unconscious. Without a second thought, he picked her up and drove her to the nearest hospital. Back at the school, the headmistress noticed Samantha was missing. She quickly called Laura, who was now walking towards the school after coming down from the motorbike. "Mrs. Laura, Samantha isn't here. She must have left," the headmistress said, worry evident in her voice. Laura felt her heart drop. Laura held tightly to the headmistress's shirt, feeling desperate and scared. The headmistress begged her to call Jack, hoping he had already found Samantha. "Maybe Jack has her," the headmistress said, her voice shaking with worry. Laura's hands trembled as she dialed Jack's number. Each ring seemed to last forever, until finally Jack answered. "Jack, please tell me you have Samantha," Laura pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Jack's voice sounded anxious over the phone. "No, Laura, what kind of question is that? I thought you were supposed to pick her up from school. Woman, you better find my daughter, and don't come home if you don't." Laura's heart sank. She dropped the phone and sank to the ground, leaning against the wall in sorrow. The headmistress gently guided her to a chair, trying to comfort her. Together, they organized a search. They looked everywhere on the school grounds, calling Samantha's name urgently. Minutes dragged on, turning into agonizing hours as they widened their search beyond the school, asking neighbors and scanning the busy streets. The sun started to set, casting long shadows. Laura couldn't stop imagining terrible things happening to Samantha. "I can't lose her," Laura whispered to herself, clinging to hope in the face of fear. Back at the hospital, the doctor urgently informed Peter that Samantha needed immediate surgery to save her life. Peter nodded in grim understanding and swiftly carried Samantha into his car. With worry etched on his face, he drove as quickly as he could to the recommended hospital, praying that they would arrive in time for Samantha to receive the life-saving treatment she desperately needed. Peter drove through traffic, his heart racing with worry for Samantha. He was scared she might not make it if they didn't get to the hospital fast enough. "Please hold on, Samantha," Peter whispered, looking at her in the mirror. She looked so pale and weak. He wanted to hold her hand, but had to keep both hands on the wheel. Traffic was really slow, and every red light felt like forever. Peter just wanted to reach the hospital where they could help Samantha. He kept telling himself they would get there in time. When they finally arrived, Peter rushed Samantha inside, explaining to the nurses how serious it was. They took her straight to the emergency room. Peter waited anxiously, watching doctors and nurses rushing around. He prayed they could save her. After a long wait, a doctor came to talk to Peter. They looked worried. "We're doing everything we can," the doctor said, trying to comfort him. But Peter could see they were concerned. Peter paced back and forth, feeling helpless. He couldn't stop thinking about Samantha fighting for her life in that room. Just then, Patricia, Peter's worried wife, who had been anxiously waiting for him to return from work, called him. Peter quickly explained everything that had happened, and she rushed down to the hospital to be by his side. Laura, afraid to face her husband without their daughter Samantha found, sought refuge at the home of her friend, who happened to be a nurse. Once there, Laura recounted the distressing situation to her friend, explaining Samantha's disappearance. Concerned, her friend asked if they had called the police, but Laura revealed that authorities advised waiting 24 hours, despite Samantha being a child. Suddenly, a nurse from the night shift called Laura's friend and mentioned a girl rushed to their hospital earlier that day. However, she informed them the girl had been transferred to another hospital for urgent surgery. Without hesitation, Laura and her friend hurried to the hospital after hearing about the girl who had been admitted and then sent to another hospital urgently. When they arrived, Laura was hopeful, but her hope quickly faded when the doctor told them they didn't have any patients who matched Samantha's description. Laura's heart sank. She felt a wave of frustration and despair wash over her. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she began to weep bitterly. "But she was brought here earlier today," Laura insisted, her voice trembling with emotion. "There must be some mistake." The doctor listened sympathetically, but maintained that there were no records of a girl fitting Samantha's description at their hospital. Laura's friend placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, trying to console her in the face of this devastating news. Feeling helpless and lost, Laura struggled to comprehend the situation. She glanced around the hospital corridor, her mind racing with unanswered questions. Where could Samantha be if not here? Why couldn't they find her? The nurse who had initially informed Laura's friend about the girl's admission approached them, looking concerned. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I thought for sure she was brought here. Maybe there's been a misunderstanding." Laura nodded, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Thank you," she managed to say, her voice choked with emotion. She turned to her friend, clutching her arm tightly for support. Together, they left the hospital, determined to continue their search for Samantha, praying fervently that they would find her safe and sound. Back at the hospital, Peter and Patricia stayed with Rebecca, their faces filled with panic. Then Patricia started crying. "How I wish she was our child. Look at how beautiful she is, even in this condition." "Don't worry, honey. The Lord will answer our prayers soon," Peter said. The next day, the doctor brought great news. "Samantha is now responding to treatment," he said. They were both happy, but Patricia had a different idea in mind. "Peter, we should run away with Samantha. Soon her parents will find out which hospital she is in," she whispered. Peter was reluctant at first. "But Patricia, this isn't right. She has a family that must be looking for her." "I know, but we've been married for years and have no child of our own. This is an opportunity for us to have a child," Patricia pleaded. After much hesitation, Peter agreed. The thought of finally having a child was too tempting to resist. They made plans to leave the hospital with Samantha before anyone could find out. Late that night, while the hospital was quiet, Peter and Patricia carefully packed their things and prepared to leave with Samantha. They knew it was risky, but their desire to have a child of their own outweighed their fear. Peter gently lifted Samantha from her bed. She was still weak, but stable enough to be moved. They sneaked out of the hospital, avoiding any staff or security that might see them. As they drove away, Peter and Patricia felt a mix of fear and excitement. They had no idea what the future held, but they were determined to make a new life with Samantha. Meanwhile, Jack and Laura went to the police station to report Samantha's disappearance. They promised a reward to anyone who could find Samantha. The police launched a full investigation, following every lead and tip they received. The police announced Samantha's disappearance on television, describing her appearance and asking anyone with information to come forward. Luckily, the doctor at the first hospital quickly recognized Samantha from the news broadcast. He called the number provided by the police and informed them that Samantha had been admitted to his hospital, but was later transferred to another facility for urgent surgery. Laura and Jack hurriedly drove to the hospital, their hearts filled with a mixture of hope and dread. When they arrived, they rushed to the front desk and demanded to see the doctor. "We're looking for our daughter, Samantha. We were told she was admitted here," Jack said urgently. The doctor looked troubled. "Yes, Samantha was here, but she was transferred to another hospital for emergency surgery." Laura's face turned pale. "Which hospital? Where is she now?" The doctor hesitated before speaking. "I'm sorry, but I have to tell you something. The child is missing. She was taken from the hospital last night." Laura's world seemed to collapse around her. She grabbed the doctor by his coat, tears streaming down her face. "You must give me my child right now, please." The doctor gently pried her hands away. "We are doing everything we can to find her. We've informed the police, and they are investigating. We will find her, I promise." Jack held Laura as she sobbed uncontrollably. "We have to stay strong, Laura. We will find her." When Peter and Patricia heard the news about Samantha on television, they knew they had to act fast. The police were closing in, and it was only a matter of time before they were found. Peter looked at Patricia, who was holding Samantha close, and made a decision. "We have to go now," Peter said urgently. "Pack only what we need. We can't afford to leave any traces." Patricia nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. She quickly gathered their essential belongings while Peter started the car. They drove with speed, their minds racing with fear. As they approached a traffic light, their worst fears were realized. Police officers were conducting routine checks on cars. Peter's hands tightened on the steering wheel as they were waved to the side. "Stay calm," Peter whispered to Patricia. "We'll get through this." The police officer approached their car, flashlight in hand. "Good evening, sir. We're conducting routine checks. May I see your license and registration?" Peter handed over the documents with a forced smile. "Of course, officer." The officer glanced at the back seat, where Samantha lay, covered with a blanket. "Is everything all right here?" he asked, suspicion creeping into his voice. Thinking quickly, Peter pulled out a wad of cash and discreetly handed it to the officer. "Just a family emergency, officer. We're in a bit of a rush." The officer hesitated, then pocketed the money and stepped back. "All right, move along." Peter breathed a sigh of relief as they drove off, heading straight for the airport. With forged documents and new identities, they relocated to another state, far from where anyone would think to look for them. Back in their hometown, Laura, Jack, and the police continued their relentless search for Samantha. Flyers were posted everywhere, and her face was broadcasted on every news channel. Despite their efforts, weeks turned into months with no sign of the little girl. The once lively home of Laura and Jack began to fall into despair. Each night, Laura would wet her pillow with tears, clutching a picture of Samantha. Jack tried to stay strong for both of them, but the pain of their missing daughter weighed heavily on his heart. "I can't lose hope, Jack," Laura said one night, her voice trembling. "I just can't." "We'll find her, Laura," Jack replied, though his own voice wavered. "We have to believe that." The police worked tirelessly, following every lead and tip, but they always seemed to be one step behind. The case grew colder with each passing day, and the town's initial fervor to find Samantha slowly faded. Peter and Patricia decided that the best way to keep Samantha safe and hidden was to get her a home teacher. They wanted to ensure she received a good education without risking exposure. At first, everything seemed perfect. They provided Samantha with toys, books, and all the comforts she could ask for. It was their way of compensating for taking her away from her real family. A few months later, Patricia discovered she was pregnant. She couldn't contain her joy. The news brought a renewed sense of happiness to their home. They prepared for the baby with excitement and anticipation, decorating the nursery and buying all the necessities. When Patricia finally gave birth to a baby boy, their world seemed complete. But as Patricia's attention shifted to her newborn son, Samantha started to feel the change. Patricia became increasingly distant and cold towards her. Samantha, who had once been the center of their world, now found herself pushed aside. Patricia was overly protective of her newborn and wouldn't let Samantha come close to him. At times, she even neglected to feed Samantha, leaving her hungry and confused. Peter began to notice the change in Patricia's behavior. One evening, as they sat in the living room, he decided to confront her. "Patricia, I don't like the way you are treating Samantha," he said gently. "She's just a child, and she needs us. If you're tired of taking care of her, why don't we consider taking her back to her biological parents?" Patricia's face hardened. "Are you serious, Peter? Do you want to spend the rest of your life in jail? We've gone too far to turn back now. Don't even think about that." Peter was taken aback by her harsh response, but knew she was right. They were in too deep. The fear of being caught and punished loomed over him. Despite his concerns, he couldn't risk exposing their secret. He felt trapped, unable to protect Samantha from Patricia's growing resentment. Days turned into weeks, and Patricia's behavior only worsened. She became increasingly harsh, often leaving Samantha alone for long periods. Samantha, once a lively and happy child, became withdrawn and quiet. Peter watched helplessly as the little girl he had grown to care for was slowly being neglected. In the following weeks, Peter tried to spend more time with Samantha. He would sneak her extra food, read her bedtime stories, and play games with her. He hoped that his small acts of kindness would make up for Patricia's neglect. Laura and Jack were heartbroken over the disappearance of their daughter, Samantha. Each day was tough, but they never lost hope of finding her. One day, Laura found out she was pregnant, bringing a little joy into their sad lives. Months later, she gave birth to twin girls. The new babies brought hope and happiness back to their home. Jack held one of the twins and looked at Laura lovingly. "See, my love," he said softly, "God has blessed us with double. We haven't forgotten Samantha, and we will find her someday." Laura smiled through her tears. "Yes, Jack. We will never stop looking for her, but for now, let's love our new babies." Life became more difficult for Samantha. Patricia began treating her like a maid. Samantha did all the house chores, often without enough food. The happy child she once was had turned into a quiet girl who did her best to survive. Peter noticed how badly Patricia was treating Samantha. Over time, his concern grew. One evening, he sat down with Patricia after dinner. "Why don't we hire a maid to help out?" he suggested gently. "Samantha deserves better." Patricia's face hardened. "Samantha is fit for the job. We don't need anyone else," she replied coldly. Peter felt a knot of frustration tighten in his chest. He looked over at Samantha, who was quietly clearing the table, her eyes downcast. He decided to push a little further. "If we're not getting a maid, then Samantha needs to get a job. She can't stay indoors all day doing chores." Patricia's eyes flashed with anger. "Are you serious, Peter? You want to risk someone recognizing her? She's fine doing what she's doing." Samantha, gathering her courage, stepped into the conversation. "Can I continue my education?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Patricia shot her down immediately. "No, you have enough work to do here," she snapped. Peter sighed, feeling defeated. He knew arguing with Patricia was pointless, but he couldn't stand seeing Samantha treated so poorly. Meanwhile, Laura and Jack never stopped searching for Samantha. They raised their twin girls with love, but always missed their lost daughter. They hoped every day to find her. 18 years passed. Samantha had grown into a beautiful young woman. Despite the harsh treatment, she remained strong. Her eyes showed a quiet strength from all she had endured. Peter felt guilty for taking Samantha. Over the years, he watched her grow and started to care for her. He admired her strength and resilience and found himself feeling more and more affection for her. One evening, Peter found Samantha washing dishes. She looked tired. He approached her gently. "Samantha, you don't have to do all this work. You deserve a break." Samantha looked up, surprised by his kindness. "Thank you, Father," she said quietly. "But if I don't do it, Mother will be angry." Peter sighed. "I know. But you shouldn't have to live like this. You're part of this family too." As time passed, Peter's feelings for Samantha grew. He saw her not just as the little girl they took, but as a young woman who had become important to him. He struggled with his feelings, knowing how complicated their situation was. One morning, after Patricia had gone out with her son, Samantha saw an opportunity to talk to Peter alone. She found him sitting in the living room. "Father, I want to ask you something," Samantha began, her voice trembling slightly. Peter looked up from his newspaper. "What is it, Samantha?" "Are you and Mummy my biological parents?" Samantha asked, her eyes filled with tears. Peter felt a rush of guilt and panic. "Yes, why do you ask?" "Because of the way she treats me. I don't understand anything anymore. It feels like I'm not really part of this family." "Don't stress yourself, Samantha. I love you so much." "It's hard, Daddy. I just want to feel like I belong," Samantha said, still looking uncertain. "You deserve better, Samantha. That's why I've already got a job for you as a receptionist in the newly built hotel down the street." Samantha's eyes widened in surprise and joy. "Really? Thank you so much, Daddy. I love you." "You deserve it, Samantha. You're a smart and capable young woman. This job will give you some independence and a chance to interact with people outside." "Thank you, Daddy. This means so much to me." When Patricia came back home, Samantha, excited, rushed to her. "Mummy, Daddy has gotten me a job." "What job?" Patricia asked sharply. "A receptionist at a hotel down the street," Samantha said, beaming. Patricia's face turned red with anger. "How dare he?" She stormed into the living room where Peter was sitting. "How dare you get Samantha a job? Who will do all these house chores?" "I have told you several times to get a house help, but you refused," Peter replied calmly. "I don't care, okay? Samantha will not work, not in this house," Patricia said angrily. "What is it, Patricia? Is it because I work in your father's company that you make me feel less of a man? Please, give me a break. I am the man of this house, and whatever I say must stand. Samantha will resume work tomorrow, whether you like it or not." Patricia was fuming. "You have no right to make such decisions without consulting me." "I do have the right," Peter insisted. "Samantha deserves better than to be treated like a maid. She's a smart, capable young woman, and she deserves a chance to build her own life." Patricia glared at Peter, her hands clenched into fists. "This is my house too, and I won't allow it. Samantha stays home, and that's final." "No, it's not final. This is not up for debate. Samantha starts her job tomorrow. If you can't accept that, then maybe you need to reconsider how you treat her and everyone else in this house." Patricia stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Samantha, who had been listening from the hallway, felt a mix of fear and hope. She had never seen her father stand up to Patricia like that before. It gave her a glimmer of hope that her life might actually change for the better. The next day, Samantha got ready for her first day at the hotel. She was nervous but excited. Peter gave her a reassuring smile as he handed her a packed lunch. "Good luck, Samantha. You will do great." "Thank you, Daddy," Samantha said, hugging him tightly. Patricia watched from a distance, her face a mask of cold anger. She said nothing, but her eyes followed Samantha as she left the house. One afternoon, while Samantha was working at the hotel, a beautiful woman with 13-year-old twin girls approached the reception desk. Samantha greeted her with a warm smile. "Good afternoon, madam. How may I help you today?" The woman smiled back. "Good afternoon. I'm here for a friend's wedding and would like to book a room for a week." "Of course," Samantha replied, typing on the computer. "We have a lovely room available. May I have your name, please?" Laura Jack," the woman said, still studying Samantha's face with an odd look of recognition. As Samantha processed the booking, Laura couldn't take her eyes off her. There was something strikingly familiar about the young receptionist's features. Her heart ached as memories of her lost daughter flooded back. She turned to her twin girls and whispered, "Your elder sister, who went missing years ago, looked so much like her." The girls glanced at Samantha, then back at their mother, their eyes wide with curiosity and sadness. Throughout their stay at the hotel, Laura found herself drawn to Samantha. Every time she saw her, she felt a strange pull, a mixture of hope and sorrow. Laura began to make small talk with Samantha whenever she got the chance, and each interaction left her more convinced that there was something special about this young woman. One day, Laura approached the desk with a small envelope. "This is for you, Samantha," she said, handing over some money. "Just a little something to show my appreciation for your kindness." Samantha was surprised. "Thank you, Mrs. Mitchell, but you don't have to do this." "I insist," Laura said with a gentle smile. "You remind me of someone very dear to me." Samantha's curiosity got the better of her. "May I ask who?" Laura's eyes filled with tears. "My daughter. She went missing many years ago. You look so much like her." Samantha felt a pang of sympathy. "I'm so sorry to hear that, ma'am. It's normal for people to look alike. Don't worry, you will find your daughter someday." Laura nodded, a single tear rolling down her cheek. "Amen to that, Samantha. Amen." As the days passed, Laura continued to spend time with Samantha. She brought her small gifts and treated her with a warmth that Samantha had rarely experienced. The twin girls also grew fond of Samantha, often chatting with her and sharing stories. One evening, as Laura and her daughters sat in the hotel lounge, she watched Samantha from a distance. She noticed the way she carried herself, her grace, and the sadness that sometimes flickered in her eyes. Laura couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this young woman than met the eye. Samantha, on the other hand, found herself looking forward to her interactions with Laura. She felt a connection to her that she couldn't quite explain. Laura's kindness and the bond she had with her daughters made Samantha wished she has a family that love her like this. As Laura's stay at the hotel drew to a close, she made a decision. She approached Samantha at the reception desk one last time. "Samantha, before we leave, I wanted to give you something." She handed Samantha a small locket. "This was my daughter's. I want you to have it." Samantha was speechless. She took the locket, her eyes filling with tears. "Thank you, Mrs. Jack. I don't know what to say." "Just promise me you'll keep it close," Laura said, "and remember, you're always welcome in our family." As Laura and her daughters left the hotel, Samantha watched them go, clutching the locket to her chest. When Samantha got home, she held the locket Laura had given her with a smile. Peter noticed her happiness and asked why she was smiling. Samantha then narrated everything to him. Though curious, Peter said, "That's so nice of her." Later, Peter went inside and started thinking. Could she be her biological mother? Oh my goodness, it's becoming so close. I shouldn't have allowed her to work. Patricia warned me. I won't tell her because she will be very mad at me. Days passed, and Peter couldn't stop thinking about Laura's locket and the possibility of Samantha being her long-lost daughter. One Friday evening, Samantha was watching a movie in the living room when Patricia's son came in. He changed the channel without asking, and when Samantha tried to get the remote back, he frowned at her and said, "Go to your father's house. You're not welcome here." Samantha felt shocked and hurt by his words. She went to her room, tears running down her face. When Peter came home from work, he found her quietly crying. He sat down beside her, concerned. "Samantha, what's wrong?" he asked gently. Through her tears, Samantha told him what had happened with Patricia's son. Peter looked upset and said softly, "I'm sorry you had to hear that. You know you're always welcome here." Samantha wiped her tears and asked, her voice trembling, "Father, why didn't you ever tell me that I'm adopted?" Peter paused, looking sad. "Samantha, I wanted to protect you. I thought it was best not to complicate things." Samantha looked confused. "But who are my real parents?" Taking a deep breath, Peter explained gently, "Samantha, your parents, they passed away in a car accident when you were very young." Samantha gasped, fresh tears flowing down her cheeks. They are gone?" Peter nodded sadly, tears welling up in his own eyes. "Yes, Samantha. I'm so sorry." Feeling overwhelmed with sadness and confusion, Samantha hugged Peter, seeking comfort in his arms. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she whispered. Peter held her tightly, his voice filled with regret. "I wanted to wait until you were older, until you could understand. I wanted to protect you from the pain." As they hugged each other tightly, Samantha found comfort in Peter's arms. While she was feeling many emotions, Peter decided to say what was in his heart. "Samantha," he began softly, "I love you." His words, meant to comfort her, made Samantha freeze. She pulled away a little and looked at him, unsure if she heard correctly. "What are you saying, Father? Are you sure you're okay?" Her voice shook with confusion and disbelief. Peter, feeling both vulnerable and determined, gently held her shoulders. "Stop calling me your father, Samantha," he said quietly. "I just told you that you were adopted." Samantha's heart sank as she tried to understand his words. She stepped back, trying to process this new information. "But you've always been like a father to me," she whispered. Peter nodded slowly, looking sad. "I know, Samantha, and I love you as if you were my own daughter. But I wanted to be honest with you. I love you so much, please be mine." Without another word, Samantha turned and walked out on him, leaving Peter standing there, heartbroken and full of regret. Patricia started noticing how Peter looked at Samantha differently. It wasn't just fatherly concern. There was something deeper, more intense in his gaze. One evening, she decided to confront him. "Peter, we need to talk," Patricia said firmly. Peter looked up, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "What is it, Patricia?" She took a deep breath. "I've been noticing how you look at Samantha. It's different. Is there something going on between you two?" Peter's eyes widened in shock. "What? No, Patricia, there's nothing going on." Patricia crossed her arms. "Don't lie to me, Peter. I've seen the way you look at her. You're hiding something." Peter sighed, rubbing his forehead. "It's complicated, Patricia. I've just told her that she's adopted, and it's been really emotional for both of us. That's all." Patricia's eyes flashed with anger. "Why now? After all these years?" Peter hesitated, trying to find the right words. "She needed to know the truth, Patricia. I couldn't keep it from her any longer." "It's been hard for her to accept." Patricia looked at him. "I don't trust you, Peter. I'm watching you two. Be careful. If I find out there's more to this, there will be consequences." Peter met her gaze, feeling the weight of her threat. "There's nothing to find, Patricia. I love her. But as a father loves his daughter, that's all." Patricia turned on her heel, her voice cold as she left the kitchen. "We'll see about that, Peter. We'll see." As Patricia walked away, Peter felt a heavy sense of dread. He knew he had to tread carefully, not just for Samantha's sake, but for the sake of their whole family. The truth had already shaken their foundations, and now, with Patricia's suspicions, things could become even more complicated. Laura was sitting in her room, lost in her thoughts. She couldn't shake the memory of the receptionist she had met a few months ago. There was something about her that had left a lasting impression on Laura. Her husband, Jack, walked in and noticed her distant expression. "Laura, what's wrong?" Jack asked gently, taking a seat beside her. Laura sighed. "Honey, do you remember that receptionist I told you about? I can't stop thinking about her." Jack looked concerned, but nodded. "Yes, I remember. What about her?" Laura took a deep breath, trying to put her feelings into words. "There was something about her, Jack. She seemed so familiar, like we had a connection. I can't explain it, but I feel like I need to see her again." Jack thought for a moment before speaking. "Okay, Laura, if it means that much to you, we'll go together. We can travel to where she works and see for ourselves." Laura's eyes lit up with hope and gratitude. "Thank you, Jack. That means a lot to me." Without wasting time, Laura booked their tickets. She was filled with anticipation and excitement at the thought of seeing the receptionist again. When they arrived at the hotel, they quickly checked in and headed straight to the front desk. "We're looking for Samantha, the receptionist," Laura said eagerly to the person at the counter. The receptionist gave them a puzzled look. "I'm sorry, but Samantha doesn't work here anymore. She left a few weeks ago." Laura's heart sank. "Do you know where she went?" The receptionist shook her head. "She told us she got admission into a university, but she didn't say which one. We don't have her new phone number or address." Laura and Jack exchanged disappointed glances. "Is there anyone here who might know how to contact her?" Jack asked hopefully. The receptionist sighed. "I'm afraid not. She didn't leave any forwarding information." Feeling deflated, Laura and Jack left the hotel. They walked down the street in silence, both processing the unexpected news. "I can't believe she's gone," Laura said, her voice tinged with sadness. "I was so sure we'd find her here." "I know, honey. I'm sorry it didn't work out the way we hoped." Laura leaned into him, feeling the weight of her disappointment. "Thank you for coming with me, Jack. It means a lot that you supported me in this." Jack kissed the top of her head. "We'll figure it out, Laura. Maybe we can find out more about the university she's attending. There has to be a way to find her." Laura nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. "You're right. We can't give up now. There must be a way." As Laura and Jack were preparing to check out of the hotel, A sense of disappointment hung heavily in the air. Laura approached the front desk one last time. She handed her phone number to the receptionist they had spoken to earlier. "Please, if Samantha comes around or contacts the hotel, could you give her my number?" Laura asked, her voice tinged with hope. "Tell her it's Laura, from a few months ago." The receptionist nodded, taking the number. "Of course, I'll make sure she gets it if she comes back." They left the hotel and walked to their car, feeling sad that they hadn't found Samantha. As they drove away, Laura stared out the window, lost in thought. "Do you think we'll ever find her?" she asked quietly. Jack glanced at her. "I believe we will. We just need to keep looking." Laura sighed, feeling both hopeful and frustrated. "I wish we had more information. It feels like trying to find a needle in a haystack." Jack nodded. "We'll figure it out. Maybe we can check local universities or look for her on social media. There has to be a way." Laura felt a bit of hope at his words. "You're right. We can't give up now." Back at home, Laura started making plans. She looked up local universities and tried to find any information that might help her find Samantha. Days turned into weeks. But Laura didn't give up. She knew that finding Samantha wouldn't be easy, but she felt a strong need to keep trying. One evening, as Laura was looking through some old notes she had made, her phone rang. She answered it quickly, her heart racing with excitement. "Hello? Is this Laura?" a familiar voice asked. "Yes, this is Laura," she replied, her voice shaking. "This is the receptionist from the hotel you stayed at. Samantha came by earlier today. I gave her your number, and she seemed very interested in contacting you." Laura felt a rush of excitement. "Thank you so much. Did she say when she might call?" She didn't give an exact time, but she said she would reach out soon. After hanging up the phone, Laura turned to Jack, her eyes shining with hope. "Samantha knows we're looking for her. She might call soon." Jack smiled and hugged her. "That's great news, Laura. We'll be here when she does." 2 days later, Samantha finally called Laura. As they caught up, Laura couldn't help but ask which university Samantha had decided to attend. To Laura's astonishment, Samantha mentioned a university right in their own city. Laura couldn't contain her excitement. "That's incredible, Samantha. You're going to be so close to us. We have to celebrate this." Samantha chuckled over the phone. "I know, right? It feels like fate or something." Laura quickly extended an invitation. "You should come over this weekend. Jack and I would love to have you. It'll be like a mini reunion." Samantha hesitated for a moment, but then replied eagerly, "I'd love that, Laura. It will be great to catch up in person." That evening, Samantha called Peter. "Father, you remember that woman I told you about? She asked me to come over this weekend for a visit." Peter's expression grew serious. "Samantha, what if they are kidnappers or ritualists? Don't go, my dear daughter." Samantha's excitement turned into worry. "You think so, Father? Okay, I won't go." The weekend arrived, and Laura eagerly waited for Samantha to show up. She had prepared everything to make Samantha feel welcome. As the hours passed without any sign of Samantha, Laura grew anxious. She decided to call Samantha. When Samantha answered, Laura's heart sank at her words. "Laura, I'm so sorry. I can't make it. I'm preparing for my exams." Laura tried to hide her disappointment. "I understand, Samantha. Your studies are important. Maybe we can plan another weekend." Samantha agreed, feeling guilty for letting Laura down. "Yes, Laura, we'll plan another time. Thanks for understanding." After hanging up, Laura sat down, feeling a mix of sadness and concern. Jack noticed her mood and asked, "What happened, Laura?" Laura sighed. "Samantha couldn't make it. She said she's busy with exams. I was so looking forward to seeing her." Jack tried to comfort her. "We'll see her soon, Laura. Don't worry. She probably really does have a lot to study." Laura nodded, trying to cheer herself up. "You are right, Jack. We will just have to wait a little longer." Samantha, on the other hand, felt sad. She wanted to visit Laura and Jack, but Peter's warnings had scared her. She couldn't shake off the feeling that she was missing out on something important. But she also trusted Peter's instincts. Samantha's exams were finally over, and she was relieved to head home. When she arrived, she was surprised to see Peter waiting for her with some unexpected news. "Samantha," Peter said, "we are relocating abroad. Our visas just came through." Samantha was surprised. "Father, how come you never told me? What about my school? I just got admission a few months ago, and now this. What if I don't want to travel?" Peter explained, "The insecurity in the country is too much. We need a safer environment." Samantha felt overwhelmed. "I need to think about it," she said, and went inside her room. She sat on her bed, trying to process the news. While sitting on her bed, Samantha's thoughts began to drift. She remembered the hurtful words Patricia's son had said to her. "Go to your father's house. You're not welcome here." His words had stung deeply, leaving her feeling out of place and unwanted. Her mind then shifted to a more unsettling memory. The moment Peter had told her he loved her not just as a daughter, but in a way that had made her uncomfortable. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something he wasn't telling her. Laura's words also echoed in her mind. She remembered how Laura had looked at her with such intensity and had said, "You look so much like my lost daughter." The coincidence seemed too strong to ignore. Samantha started to piece together the puzzle in her mind. She couldn't help but wonder if there was a deeper truth being kept from her. Was it possible that Laura was her biological mother? If so, why hadn't anyone told her? The more she thought about it, the more it made sense. Laura's intense reaction to seeing her, Peter's strange behavior, and the fact that she had never been told about her adoption until now, all these clues seemed to point towards a hidden truth. Samantha's heart raced as she considered the possibility. If Laura was indeed her biological mother, then why had she been separated from her? And why was Peter acting so possessive? The next day, Samantha tried to leave the house, but the security man stopped her at the gate. "Why can't I go out?" she asked, frustrated. "Your father told me not to let you out until he says so," the security man replied. Samantha was angry. "This is crazy," she muttered as she went back inside. She decided to call Peter and ask him why he was doing this. But when she looked for her phone, she couldn't find it anywhere. Panic set in. "Where is my phone?" she thought. Then she realized that Peter must have hidden it to stop her from contacting anyone. "This is getting too serious," she whispered to herself. "Oh God, please help me." Feeling trapped, Samantha went to find Peter. But he wasn't home. She remembered that Peter had gone out with Patricia and their son. This made her feel even more alone and worried. "What am I going to do?" she thought. She needed to talk to Peter and understand why he was keeping her locked up. She felt like a prisoner in her own home. Samantha went back to her room and sat on her bed, trying to calm down. Patricia was the first to come home. When she walked through the door, Samantha rushed to her. "What's going on?" Samantha demanded. "Why can't I leave the house?" Patricia looked serious. "It's for your own safety, Samantha," she said. "We found out that Laura is a kidnapper. They were planning to kidnap you." Samantha was shocked. "But why would she be after me? I don't even know her." Patricia sighed. "We knew you wouldn't believe us if we told you. That's why we decided it would be best to relocate all of us. It's the only way to keep you safe." "But it doesn't make sense, Mother," Samantha insisted. "Why me?" Patricia's lost her patience. "Just shut up and obey us, okay? I'm done with this conversation for now," she snapped, before walking away, leaving Samantha feeling even more confused and trapped. 2 days before their planned departure, Peter and Patricia left with their son as usual. Samantha waited until they were gone, then approached the security guard, pleading to let her go out. The guard, worried about getting in trouble, reluctantly agreed on the condition that she return before her parents. Samantha promised and hurried out. She found a passerby and begged to use their phone. Dialing Laura's number with trembling hands, she told her about the situation. Laura instructed her to go to the nearest police station and assured her they would catch the next available flight to meet her. Samantha thanked the passerby and made her way to the police station. Once there, she explained her predicament to the officers, who agreed to help and allowed her to wait inside. Peter returned home earlier than expected and found the house empty. He asked the security guard if he had seen Samantha. The guard, fearing the consequences, lied and said she hadn't left the house. Frustrated, Peter called Patricia, and they began a frantic search, contacting friends and relatives. At the police station, Samantha waited anxiously, hoping Laura and Jack would arrive soon. The officers assured her she was safe, but she couldn't shake the feeling of urgency. Laura and Jack arrived at the police station an hour later, relieved to find Samantha safe. They embraced her, promising to keep her safe and uncover the truth. Back at Peter and Patricia's house, the couple had searched everywhere and were becoming increasingly scared. "What if she has found out the truth?" Peter said, panic in his voice. "We need to leave right now. Hurry, Patricia, hurry." As they were about to flee, the police arrived and arrested them both. Peter and Patricia were taken to the station, where Laura, Jack, and Samantha were waiting. At the police station, the pressure mounted, and Peter finally confessed. He told the officers how he had hit Samantha with his car years ago and taken her to the hospital. Overcome with guilt and unable to have children of their own, Patricia convinced him to take Samantha as their own daughter. Laura was stunned. "So you are the man who took my baby away from me. You and your wife will rot in jail for this." Samantha, hearing the full story for the first time, felt a whirlwind of emotions. The truth was finally out, and she clung to Laura and Jack, knowing they would help her through the difficult times ahead. Peter and Patricia were led away in handcuffs, facing the consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, Laura and Jack, with Samantha by their side, began to look forward to a future together, ready to rebuild what had been lost. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed this story, please subscribe, like, share, and turn on notifications to get notified whenever we upload a new video. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.